Todd. My name is Ken Keller. I live in northern Minnesota, and my wife passed away unexpectedly after having open heart surgery on November 1st of last year. And I was looking to have a poem done that could be read at her memorial service on April 15th. I would like to have something in memory of her and given to our three sons as a memorial of her life. You can reach me on my cell phone, which is 218.
Welcome. I'm Todd Boss. In this podcast, I help strangers discover the poetry in their most intimate stories. I reach Ken at his cabin on a snowy morning in February. Hey, Ken.
Hi, Todd.
I'm glad you're here. Good morning. Ken's a round-faced, white-haired fellow with a sweet, generous smile and an elfin nose. Looks a little like former U.S. Senator John McCain. How long have you had this cabin?
We moved up from Chicago. I retired in 2004.
Ken's a retired cardiovascular nurse who has spent most of his life in VA hospitals in coronary and vascular intensive care.
We were living in a little town called West Chicago. It was a suburb. There was a big General Mills cereal plant there. Wrigley Spearmint Gum had a flavoring factory. Campbell's Soup had a mushroom farm that we lived across from. You could smell the compost when they were cooking the compost, and then they would seed it for the mushrooms. And so in 2004, we sold our house and we came up here, and we were looking to build a place on a lake, but we ran into this and my wife just loved it.
Show me around a little bit.
Okay, this is the great room.
Ken angles his laptop so I can see the cabin.
It's a hand-hewn log home.
Vaulted ceilings. A beautiful big porch that looks out over the lake, surrounded by pines. Oh, you're outside now. I don't want to make you go outside.
There is snow out here.
Yeah, you've got a good 1.5 feet.
The lake is out there, past the trees there.
There it is. It's a beautiful spot. A far cry from views of West Chicago Campbell's Soup mushroom factory. Is that her quilting studio out there?
Yeah, there's a quilting studio. I built her a quilting studio. It is really cute. It looks like a gnome house.
I love it. My mother is a quilter. I have a lot of respect for beautiful quilts. I know what kind of work goes into those.
Yeah. She did a lot of quilts. After we moved up here in the winters, that's what a lot of women do. Besides reading, they do a lot of quilting because sometimes it's just too cold to go out. I think the coldest it's been since we have been here, actual temperature was 42 below.
Gee whiz.
But we like the snow. But there aren't a lot of animals out right now. And I thought, gosh, I wish we were doing this in the spring when the loons come back.
The loon, state bird of Minnesota, is a large black and white diving water bird that overwinters as far south as Mexico.
There's generally two pair on our lake. One comes to the west end where we are, and the other one is down on the eastern end.
They're known for calling mournfully to one another in haunting, multisyllabic warbles that sound oddly like ghostly laughter. It's thought they got their name because they walk so precariously on their diving legs when out of water.
We would sleep with the door open, and at about 2 o'clock in the morning, they would call out, just trying to find each other up the lake. It echoes down through there. You can hear the loons.
They weren't made to be out of water, and they're known very rarely to be alone.
Sue was here when we did that. You know, up here, the hardest thing is the loneliness of not having her.
You'll hear it as he talks to me. Ken alternates between the weight of his new loneliness.
And it's still pretty raw.
Yeah. And the eagerness with which he shares the cherished details of their life together.
I got to tell you this little story. Sue and I, when we met at college, at the University of Miami. She lived in a high-rise dorm, and they had intramural little contests and events. And one of them was the girls would push the guys on tricycles around a track. And she pushed me.
You steered.
Kept my feet away from the pedals.
Yeah.
And we won.
I love it.
We just hit it off, and we were the best of friends. We were like real soulmates. We did everything together. And that's the way it was. And it was such a shock because we had so many things still planned.
Yeah.
Trips and stuff like that.
Ken tells me Sue was happiest when traveling.
We started traveling after we got up here into Minnesota. And we've done trips all over the world. We've been to Vietnam, Cambodia, Angkor Wat, China, places that I never thought I would get to see. I never thought I would get to see the pyramids or those kind of places. And we've done the river trips on the Rhine, the Danube, the Moselle, the Seine, all of those.
Wow.
We've been to Antarctica. We saw humpback whales bubble feeding for krill, and you're right out there on the Zodiacs because it's a small ship.
That's amazing.
And when we were down in South America, we had guinea pig is what they serve down there it's like our turkey at Thanksgiving. And the little guinea pigs are running around. Well, there isn't much meat on a guinea pig, but I have eaten guinea pig. And in Vietnam, in Cambodia, I have eaten tarantula. They fry them up with in oil, and they eat silkworms and grasshoppers and all that kind of stuff.
Ken, a lot of people have stereotypes about northern Minnesotans. That they're kind of parochial and that their world is really small and they don't get out much.
Yeah, I think that is kind of true. I mean, the average person probably doesn't go very far from here, but I think that's changing a little bit. But we think it's really important, if you can, to travel, because you really see that everybody has the same wants, needs, and desires as everybody else.
Yeah, makes the world a smaller place, doesn't it?
It makes a big difference.
Sue was born to Swiss parents and loved all things Swiss.
She really embraced her Swiss citizenship. She loved cheese. She loved bread. We would have fondue dinners with the neighbors. We would have raclette dinners. We would go back to Switzerland and see her cousins, and we have friends in Switzerland.
Switzerland is an enchanted world, isn't it?
Yeah, and the music boxes. I just love their music boxes. I have a couple. One that Sue bought me as a gift.
The cabin is filled with handcrafted souvenirs from their travels.
We have a lot of antiques, and I collected clocks. I have a lot of clocks, but I only have 12 that are actually working.
Only 12.
But I have more than that.
Tell me about the cuckoo clock.
See if I can just show you here. Can you see that?
Oh, yeah. Wow. This is no ticky-tacky dicky-bird bric-a-brac he's got here. Gorgeous.
It's all sanded and shaped.
Intricately hand-carved wooden things carry a royal bearing and integrity all to themselves.
They're one of a kind.
Lovingly made, thickly leaved all around. You could almost believe a real bird lives in there.
But they're all mechanical clocks, so it's hard, the springs, they wear down. Like anything, they do wear out.
I grew up on a farm. My dad kept a pendulum wall clock ticking and chiming by winding it every week. It was the metronome of our days, sounding out the quarter hours. When it wound down and went silent, you didn't notice except that an eerie quiet had come over the house, at which point getting that clock started again felt like an urgent imperative.
I've said to Sue, even though she's not here, I said, you got out at the right time. We're just an animal on this planet, like all of the civilizations before us, and eventually we're going to go too. The human race is going to go. And I worry about that with the grandkids and that kind of stuff, because it's not a good time. We've ruined the planet, and I'm not quite sure we'll be able to get it back. I'm not so optimistic with what's going on. And we did a lot of talk about that. But she was very optimistic. She always had a smile on her face, and that's what I hear from other people. And I think we were opposites, but opposites attract. And Sue was a very outgoing person. She made me an outgoing person.
Even though they loved to have adventures all over the world, Ken and Sue enjoyed their domesticity, too.
We were growing older together. We played cards in the winter. We played skip-bo. We played hand and foot canasta. We did puzzles together in the wintertime. We just did that kind of stuff. We would go to movies together, too. And we always watched a lot of public television in the evening sometimes. We always sat together. Now I'm down with a TV tray because I have nobody to talk to.
Yeah.
And she did all of the cooking pretty much. I would do all of the outside stuff, split logs for the little wood stove that we have, and mow the grass and plow the snow and that kind of stuff. But it is pretty tough being alone. And we actually had 3 trips planned for 2022. And then when she discovered that she had mitral valve problems, heart problems, and we decided that she should probably have the surgery because it was only going to get worse. She had the surgery. She went through the surgery fine. Got back to the intensive care unit. I got up there to see her. She was still pretty groggy. And they said that everything looked like it was going fine. The surgeon said everything looks fine. And I was ready to take care of her as a nurse would do. And it was around noon. And I said, well, I'll go get a bite to eat and I'll come back. And when I came back, she wasn't in the room. And apparently she had started to bleed a lot through the chest tubes. And basically her heart just ruptured and they weren't able to save her.
Were none of your boys there with you?
No, and I had kept them all informed, and that was just the killer, because I had let her sister know. All 3 of the boys knew that everything looked like it was going fine. The surgeon said everything looks fine. And I said, I'll take care of you when you get home. And then to have that happen and then have to call them all back and said, she's gone. It was pretty devastating.
Yeah. Wow. I'm so sorry for your loss. I can't imagine what it must be like for a cardiac nurse to lose his wife in a cardiac unit, but it hurts my heart.
We did everything together, and I think that's one of the things. It was such a shock because we thought we had more time, but
it's hard to hear him talk about lost time, surrounded as he is by the ticking of it. Clocks everywhere, clocks on every wall, clocks on every shelf. Their little gears grinding us forward from now to now to now. now, now. Do you think you'll stay up there in the house? Have you thought much about it?
Yes. This is our place.
Yeah.
And, she had notebooks from college that I found as I was going through stuff, where she would write stuff. Don't count the days, make the days count. That was from Muhammad Ali. She wrote this down. What you do makes a difference, and you have to decide what kind of difference you want to make. She would also write me. I found this too, and there's a lot of things. She was writing me before we had our first baby. I want you to know how very deeply I love you. And it goes on.
Wow. Beautiful.
That's the kind of person she was.
Thank you for sharing.
It was a special life. And as everybody says, it's going to take time.
Yeah.
But I just felt that a poem would be something that would be nice to do.
It's a tall order, writing an elegy for someone you've never met. Someone who means so much more to her family and her community than I can grasp. Ken wants a tribute, but he's not the only one grieving. Does he want this tribute to speak for all of them? His sons, his grandchildren, his wife's sister, the community Sue served? Ken hasn't invited me to interview any of them. I think he wants a love poem, an expression of his own personal feelings for his wife. I think Ken wants to rewind the clock and revisit the moment before she died, stay in the room with her, and give her something. When I reach back out to Ken to give him the poem I've written, there he is.
There you are.
His dog Sully is keeping him company.
That's Sully. That's Sully.
Let me see Sully.
Here, I'll show you to him.
Wow. Sully is a solid 150-pound Newfoundland. Ah, look at that. Big black monster.
Just a second, Todd. Let me let him out. I'll be right with you.
Sure.
But anyway, that's Sully. He just gets kind of crazy. He gets to be a nuisance, actually, because he just is so lovable, and he gets so excited when he sees people. So, yeah.
Yeah. How's your day going?
Pretty good. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, I'm going to send this to you. First, I have questions. I want to know what it's been like for you. You've got this stranger writing a poem for you.
Well, it's been interesting. I'm excited.
Good. Well, I never know how to prepare someone for their poem because I don't even know if you have something in mind. Is there something in your imagination?
Well, I don't know, but I think it'll make me cry.
That's an easy one.
That's an easy one. Yeah.
I love your availability to your emotions. And
yeah.
Okay, well, I just hit send. Do you have your email available there?
Yeah, let's see. Okay, I've got it up.
Great, I'm going to read it to you, okay?
Okay.
And then you can read along with me. And I decided to make this a poem from you. That seemed really like the right thing.
Yeah, I like that.
So the voice in the poem is yours.
I think that was a good idea.
It was a lark is the title.
Okay.
It was a lark and cuckoo. Girls pushed boys around a track on trikes. You charged. My wheels were spun. We won. 51 years our race was run. It was a lark with cuckoo clocks and quilts and trips and dives and games and Swiss fondue and sons, daughters and sons of sons, and moons and Northwood's loons and fun. You gave and gave. You navigated while I drove Route 66 Chicago to the pier, and everywhere 6 continents made close. You were my friend. Too soon, the cuckoo strikes. We're all on trikes again. The girls and boys all grown. And my world bigger now my lark has flown.
I love it, Todd. I think that's perfect. You captured it without a doubt. I really appreciate it. It's just exactly what I think I was hoping we would get.
You can read and hear this poem again and find related bonus content on our website, poeminthat.com. Are you going to be reading this poem for her?
I'd love to. I don't know if I can, because I'm not even sure by that time I could stand up there.
There's a Poem in That is written and produced by me, Todd Boss, and co-producer Bronwyn Clark, with support from associate producer Hila Plittman. Audio support from Ben O'Brien. Original music by Esh Whitaker. You're a great guy, Ken. It's really been a privilege for me to do this with you. If you like this podcast, share it with others or support us with a donation at poeminthat.com.
Thanks a lot.
Take care. And as always, if you think there's a poem in your story, tell us why by leaving a message on our Haiku Hawaii listener line at 808-300-0449. I'm Todd Boss, reminding you that there's a poem in everything if you're paying attention.